It has been 318 days since the 21-year-old left his college apartment at Texas State University and he headed home for Christmas. But between leaving school and arriving home just outside of Houston, things took a turn. On a long gravel road in Lulling, Texas, Jason's car was found wrecked with the key still in the ignition and the headlights still on. But no sign of Jason.
Hello, this is SSB Rye, and in today's video I will be discussing the missing persons case of Jason Landry. Jason Landry was born on July 29, 1999 in Missouri City, Texas to parents Lisa and Kent Landry. Not much is known about Jason's early life, but what is known is that at the time of Jason's disappearance, he had just completed his first semester at Texas State University, which is in San Marcos, and was trying to return home for the holidays. Based on Jason's phone and app data, we have a pretty clear picture of how most of the night went. So, on December 13, 2020, Jason left his apartment in San Marcos at 10:55 p.m. and headed to Missouri City. He opened a navigation app to help guide him on his way home. Just half an hour later, Jason entered Lulling, Texas, and for whatever reason, quit using his GPS app and started using Snapchat. Police believe that instead of turning right on Magnolia, the correct way to continue on his way, he instead turns into Salt Flat Road. It is on this road that he crashed on around 11:34 p.m. About an hour later, Jason's car, a tan Nissan Altima, was found crashed and abandoned by a volunteer firefighter driving through the area in the 2300 block of Salt Flat Road. The car's lights were on, the keys were still in the ignition, and the front passenger side door was locked. Nearly an hour after the car is found, Texas Department of Public Safety troopers respond to the call. Since Kent is the registered owner of the car, he got a call from the police around 2 a.m. to notify him of the crash. He immediately took off and arrived at the impound lot around 5:30 in the morning. He is able to get inside the vehicle and finds Jason's phone between the driver's seat and the center console. Afterwards, Kent headed to the crash site and arrives there around 6 in the morning. Upon his arrival, Kent noticed articles of clothing on the road that matched clothes he knew belonged to Jason. Continuing his search, he found Jason's backpack and, oddly, the clothes that Jason was likely wearing at the time of the crash. He surmised this as the shorts he found had a spot of blood in them, most likely caused by the crash. Jason's wallet and other personal items and equipment were also found in his backpack. Jason is officially declared missing that day, and Texas Search and Rescue and Texas EquuSearch initiated an extended search in the area that lasted 9 days before the search was suspended. In the intervening year, about 6 more massive searches have taken place and still nothing has been found. Obviously, no case is handled perfectly, but there was definitely a lot to be left desired when it comes to this case in particular. No one can articulate these particular grievances than the one person who has been relentlessly involved in this case from the very beginning, Kent Landry himself.
Can you pick out something that they didn't do initially that you think, I mean, we probably could go down a list, but something that jumps right into your mind that they should have done that night, that morning, now is the time has passed, it can't be done now?
Process the accident scene. Properly retain and catalog the evidence. Look for, I guess, in terms of better information in terms of trail. This is a pretty rural area, but I mean, cordon off the area. I mean, even in the most basic thing, put out some police tape and, you know, make sure that no one contaminates the scene with other footprints and scent, and, you know, y'all know how this goes. Yeah. You know, cordon off the scene, make sure that the investigators who need to come out to do the proper forensic analysis can do that forensic analysis.
I do not want to misconstrue the Landry's relationship with the authorities in charge of the case. In fact, earlier on in this great interview that Kent did with the host at Lord and Art's channel, he did say that their family has an excellent relationship with the local agencies, but as seen from the clip, he definitely has some grievances with the way in which the scene was handled from the onset. I personally cannot believe the lack of proactiveness exercised by the responding officers. These officers literally just arrived, looked at the scene, and impounded the car while Jason's items were strewn about everywhere. There was definitely a lot of negligence on their part, in my opinion. What bothers me just as much as this gross incompetence is the hot potato nature of responsibility that comes along with multiple agencies inheriting a case like this.
It's frustrating because we don't have hard answers.
Captain Jeff Ferry is the lead detective on the case. He admits early on things weren't done perfectly.
There is no inventory conducted. I don't know why. That's a highway patrol question. The trooper does not go into the vehicle. I don't know why. That's a highway patrol question. The trooper does not place a hold on the vehicle. I don't know why. That's a highway patrol question.
It bothers me that in the same breath that the lead detective admits that mistakes were made with the scene, he shirks off any responsibility saying, "I don't know why, this is a highway patrol question," multiple times. Well, I don't know why you don't know why. This kid has been missing for a year now, and you haven't thought to talk to the highway patrolman who responded to the scene and ask them why they did what they did? You'd think that would be one of the first things he'd do as the lead investigator, but I guess not. Furthermore, I did not like another part of this segment either.
There's no definitive information proving one thing or disproving another. And the things that we do feel extremely confident in, people don't like those.
I cannot fully put my finger on it, but I think I detect a bit of smugness in the way that he said that the theories they do have aren't very popular, acting like those are clearly the correct ones, when he had just finished telling us that he did not have any information to prove or disprove any theories. I could be wrong, but please let me know what you think in the comments below. Now personally, I'm not a big conspiracy theory guy. I tend to think that the simplest explanation is more than likely the correct one, and that is not an exception here. Just as the detective is heavily implying, it is more than likely to me that Jason was left disoriented after the crash and tried to walk to the nearest town and succumb to the elements. This does leave some curious questions though. Namely, if Jason was not a victim of foul play, why have they not found him yet? Like I mentioned earlier, there have been extensive searches for him in the last year. Aside from the huge manpower, they have used tracker dogs and an AI that calculated over 80 points for them to look at within a certain radius, and still no body has been found. Finally, what was up with his clothes? Why did he take them off after the crash? For that, I may have an idea. In case you have not heard of the Diat Pass incident, let me give you the briefest of rundowns. Taken from the web, the incident is described as one in which 9 Russian hikers died in the northern Ural Mountains between the 1st and 2nd of February in 1959 in uncertain circumstances. Those circumstances being how they were found. Even though they were trekking through treacherously cold environments, some of the hikers were found naked. This phenomenon later came to be known as paradoxical undressing. Paradoxical undressing is a phenomena that typically occurs during moderate and severe hypothermia. The person becomes disoriented and confused, and then they strangely begin taking their clothing, despite the fact that they are on the verge of freezing to death. Just before people become unconscious, they have a feeling of warmth flushing all over their body, and they feel uncomfortably hot. I do not think that Jason had hypothermia as he crashed, but not much longer than 30 minutes from the start of his voyage home. But I do think some sort of similar phenomena occurred as it was pretty cold that night. Whatever happened, I sincerely hope that they find Jason soon. There is a $10,000 reward for any information that brings him home. So if you happen to know anything, please contact the proper authorities.